So he dropped it as well. Imagine if they go to the beginning before I started for you. Before I started. That'd be the introduction. Visha. Visha? Yeah, I'm just doing the large things later. Looking for advice. People around text. All those things. That's important. Okay. Yeah.
वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि
family and friends gathered here, and those of you watching the live stream from Perth, Sydney, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and London. We're gathered here to bid farewell to Georgie Mohanlall Sarjoo, born on the 16th of August 1949, who passed away after significant illness just before 5 p.m. on the 14th of October. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Hemant Nobat. I'm the favourite son-in-law of Georgie's sister Sumitra. To start proceedings today, I'm going to ask Pandita Babalal to lead us in prayer.
Great namaste to all. I would like all of you to say the Gayatri mantra with me once, and if you can, if you know the
Thank you, Pandita. I've known Georgie for about 44 years. Lovisha and I have been married for some 38. She passed on me 6 years before we eventually married. Georgie and I first bonded at the pub at the Sydenham Hotel, run by one Max Shimali, whom Leonard may remember. And after 5 or 6 beers, we were firm friends. It was a relationship that was cemented even more when he discovered I knew a little bit about tennis and cricket. But our first speaker today has known Georgie for a far longer period. He is Dr. Devendra Singh. If you don't recognize the name, he's more popularly known as Tom. Tom is Georgie's nephew, Ashable, and as you know, Georgie spent various periods of his life living in Ashable. Tom.
Good afternoon. I've just chosen to a farewell final to a much loved and respected Georgie. There may be a few people who are not here, who are here virtually, and I send them greetings. I am a nephew to Georgie, and he my senior. But we called each other by our first names and engaged as comrades in our association. Georgie was born in 1949. So Georgie was born in 1949 to Lekaya Joshi and Suchal and Sarjoo, both second generation immigrants. Indeed, Georgie was interested in his origins, and we shared many thoughts about this topic. It may be worth mentioning at this stage that of recent, Georgie had started a collection of photographs of the Indian diaspora in South Africa. And more specifically, he was interested in his family lineage. So Georgie, I will take the liberty of opening this collection to interested people. I digress. Georgie was the youngest brother of Gopal Prasad, Viram, Kilawan, and Ramsundar, and sisters Kanchan, Sumitra, Kala, and much beloved twin sister, Padma. Georgie went to school in Sydenham and grew up in the multicultural area of Sparks Estate. His family home, who many here will recall as 7 Kill Road, formed his formative years. To this day, he has friends from those days, of whom we will recognize here later today during the function. Georgie followed in his father's footsteps as a carpenter and following higher training went on to study furniture, mirrored doors, and timber city. However, is there any amongst us close to Georgie whom he has not provided skills at no cost? Offices, kitchens, bedrooms, Georgie did all of these with incredible detail. For the last 10 years or so, Georgie found himself as a senior post at Alpha Alarms, but Rajan Governor will elaborate. I digress again, forgive me, Georgie, I'll do it my way. So, Georgie was a sportsman who took cricket and tennis to his heart. There is none amongst us who cannot be familiar with Georgie and Tulsi Crescent. Sarjoo was, I fondly remember, a lover of jazz. I recall him talking of Dollar Brand as Abdullah Ibrahim was known in those days. I do not need to remind anyone that Georgie took the moral and ethical high ground. He was a voracious reader, and always, without fail, borrowed and returned novels. Georgie could read and read and would discourse on writers such as Tolstoy and even make it sound convincing. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you for that broad overview and tapestry of Georgie's life, Tom. I just want to pick up on something. And Tom talked about Georgie reading voraciously. He's read just about most books in my library and Tom's library. He made a point of returning everything. And my own introduction to Leon Uris and James Michener came from Georgie. Interestingly, in the 1970s, he was already reading Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the Russian dissident. So we owe a lot to him in terms of stimulating that love for reading, which is also passed on to our children too. We're going to take a short break and we're going to play some bhajans and Shini before we call on the next speaker. Tom and Georgie were similar in many ways. Both of them defended their truth to the point of being difficult and obstinate. The other thing they shared in common was the acquisition of a committed band of friends. To the point that my mother-in-law would complain often that Tom and Georgie spent more time and cared more about their friends and family. Georgie's wide band of friends. I acknowledge the presence here of Lal, who's made the trip all the way from Johannesburg to be with us today. His other friends, the late Billy and Dot, Trevor, Greg, Gloria. But the one friend who goes back a long, long way is Leonard Morgas. Leonard belongs to Georgie's tennis family, and he's going to talk to us now. Leonard? It was not just Leonard that Georgie was friends with. It was Leonard, it was Beverly, children, Bronwyn, Lance, were all very close to Georgie's heart.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to bid a very good afternoon to the Sarjoo family, to Hemant and Visha. And I'm hoping that my talk here this afternoon is not too informal for this occasion. I was very surprised when Visha called me yesterday and asked me to talk on behalf of the friends of Georgie. And as his elder sister says, he often spent too much more time with us than with his family. So I just thought I'd share some thoughts and some lighter moments between us, or with us and Georgie. And I like to refer to us as not only his friends, but also we were his tennis family. So it's a distinct honor for me this afternoon to stand here before you and try and describe our friendship with Georgie and what an honor it was to know him and how he impacted our lives. He's been a lifelong friend and confidant. George, I've known Georgie since I was 20 or 19. So that's quite close onto 50 years of him being a friend and a confidant to me. However, that friendship, I actually can't separate that friendship from his tennis, his relationship with tennis. And I know Helmut spoke about his love for cricket, but really speaking, it was tennis. And he never missed an occasion, he never missed an opportunities to support our tennis function. So George was a tennis player, and he was one of the foundation members of the Tills Tennis Club. Our relationship started in about the 70s, as I was saying, and the first Christmas holiday I had as a friend with him, we played almost every day. In the afternoon, I would fetch him. He had a brother. He had a brother that lived in Brickfield Road in a block of flats above the cinema there. So George and I would go and play every afternoon. And he never was once late. George had an uncanny respect for time. And it was often to a fault, because he actually didn't understand that other people do get delayed on the odd occasion, especially if you have a family. You've got 3 or 4 people that can make you late, but George, being George, he didn't understand that, and he was always, but he was always on time. So when we first met, he often described his tennis courts, or his family's tennis courts in Hill Road, and how he often used to be given the task of preparing the clay courts, and his uncles and his uncles' friends and his dad all got to play, and poor old George didn't get to play. So I think that's where his love for tennis started. He worked as a cabinet maker across the road from the Tills Crescent sports field. So I think with his time there, he looked across the road and there were these tennis courts. So when I got there in about 1971 and 1972, George was already a member at the tennis club. And I can't remember clearly, but I'm sure that George introduced me to my wife. And it was one of those things, because he knew everybody at the club. George was often introduced me to everybody, and that cemented our relationship. Some of my personal memories with George, and I'm going to have to share some of the personal things. I can't talk on behalf of our other friends or our other group of friends, but I know that each of them have special moments with George, because that was the type of person that George was. George was committed. When he was your friend, he would take a bullet for you. I hope that nobody minds me saying that, but that's what type of guy that George was. He was 100% committed. I remember quite clearly, George drove the car at my wedding. Right? That's how far back we go. He drove the car at my wedding, and when we moved into our new house, George was there again, and he was helping me to move the furniture. So we moved into our new house, where I still live. George served on committees with me. We were both on the Tills Tennis Club committee, and he also served with me on the Durban Tennis Committee at Westridge Park. We had fun times together. We had many trips to the Wild Coast. I know Georgie, he enjoyed those immensely. I see Dougie here and Ravin, they were all at those trips to the Wild Coast. Graham at the back there, he was a very young man. So these were fun times that we had with George. He was my doubles partner. We played many league matches together. George was a very good tennis player, and for many years we played doubles together. We've played in Harding, and tournaments in Harding. We played in tournaments in Pietermaritzburg. In fact, we were the champions there for a year. We didn't go back there afterwards because the people were getting far too good for us. But anyway, those are the types of fun things that we did. But one league match that does spring to mind, and it was played just down the road here at everybody's past those tennis courts on the way here, the Jeevan Kara tennis courts. I remember playing a league match with George, and you needed six people in a team, and we all turned up there. And for some reason, George had his arm in a sling, because there was something wrong with him. He had his arm in a sling and a bandage around his leg, and he had a walking stick to help him. And the other team counted, and they counted 5 people, but George was there. So they said, "When's your 6th person arriving?" And we said to him, "Well, there's he there. George was there. He was going to play with us." And then he took off his bandage and put his stick down, and we played a league match together. So that was one of the very fond memories that I have with George. Georgie always kept in contact with everybody. I knew all the old players at the club. Georgie always knew where they were, what they were doing, and how they were. Right? In other words, if they were sick, Georgie knew about it. And he would take the time to always be in contact. So he never ever forgot anything. I know my children, when they were young, when Uncle Georgie came, I think they used to fondly call him Uncle O George. When Georgie came around, they knew that Georgie had a chocolate behind his back, right? And my daughter, she was into her 20s and she was still eating chocolate from George. So such is the relationship we had with him. So, on behalf of his tennis family and friends, and on behalf of my family, Beverly and I and our children, we say that George had a full life. We know that he had a full life. We know that he served the people that he knew. He served them with all his heart. He did as much for them as possible. So it is with very fond memories of Georgie that I come here this afternoon, and on behalf of all our friends and all his tennis family, we say goodbye to him, and we know that he's in a better place, and we know that his soul is at rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leonard, for that personal recollection of that aspect of Georgie's life. There's 2 things from there that I want to pick up on. The first, that the brother he lived with in Brickfield Road in the flat was Uncle Ramsundar, the father of Sean and Anshini and Aveen and Sudhir, who are here this evening, who were very close to Georgie recently. And the other is to say that perhaps fittingly, the last book that Georgie read from my own collection a few months ago was Salim Badat's Tennis, Apartheid and Social Justice, which you might have come across. I just want to run through now some notes that we've received. We've had condolences have been streaming in from all over. I'm not going to read all of them out, but I'm going to tell you who sent messages through. There's Shalene in Sydney, who's also sent those flowers that sit in front of me here. I'm not sure if you can see them, Shalene. I know you on the live stream. Messages also from Raish and Ella in Sydney. Kerry and Chubana in Scottsboro, who couldn't manage to be here because of the rain that's present today. In Cape Town, Yaden and Pinky, Richard and Neri, Geetha and her family. I'm just going to run through my notes that I made here, just in case I miss anything. As I get older, I tend to forget things, so I make notes of it. But then I thought it'd be clever to make a note on my phone, and I struggle to read it off my phone. So just bear with me. Where is it? Right. Asha Miraj from Sydney, Amlan Patab in Joburg, Samira, Baron, and Ria in Pietermaritzburg, Kerry and Shubaga I've mentioned already, and a whole host of other people. As I get around to it, I'll give you more names. Our next speaker is Roger Governor. Tom has mentioned Alpha Labs, where Georgie worked and lived in recent times. But Roger was not Georgie's boss. Roger was a close friend, and he says he goes back about 44 years with Georgie, and he'll chat with us today. Roger.
Namaste. Salutations to one and all. It is extremely, extremely sad for me to stand at this podium and speak on behalf of a brother that I've known for the past 40 years. I tried to write a speech, but it's impossible knowing a man for 40 years. And every time I write something, I tend to turn the page and new things come about. But there's a few things that I want to mention about my dear brother. There are walls, huge walls, tall fences, but we all don't know what's beyond our life. And the little that I could say about George, which spans 40 years, these few moments, is that George was a true gentleman that very few people could understand. The love that George showed towards his sisters and his siblings, his nephew and nieces, was sublime. And George was a very avid reader. I think Dr. Herman said, and Dr. Tom mentioned that he used to read the library, and Emma never had a register for George because he was such an honest person, and he always kept giving Emma back. And I would say, Emma, he must have read about 5,000 books in his life. And he was a genius. His memory was fantastic. And if you had to debate with him, you have to have your ducks in a row, because we'll all look like idiots. George was there when I first got married in my honeymoon days. He was there for my first child. He was there for my second child. And he was there for my 3 grandchildren. But lo and behold, George was always there for us in good times and bad times. George was a genius when it comes to his memory. He could update anyone and bring a conversation that you want to just sit and look at him and listen. George and his family are really blessed to be associated with the Sarjoo family and the Singh family and Emma Nobat's family. Thank you all for taking such precious care, especially in the last moments of life, where he was at his best medical attention. He was given the best hospital that medicine could do for him. But thank you. But my last parting words is that I also, Leonard, tried to find a girl for George. Unfortunately, it didn't work. But then there was an occasion in his life where he was all ready to get married. And then his fiancée, he told his fiancée, I don't have a circus. You're going to invite 1,000 people, I'm not going to have a circus. So let's forget about the wedding. And George remained a bachelor all his life. Didn't want that. I suppose the younger generation is following his philosophy, where they're living and then after getting married. I think that's the best thing. I hated that at one stage, but I think that's a good philosophy. Youngsters, carry on with that. line of thought. There's one last final parting words that I have to say on behalf of my family, my wife, Pat, and my dear, dear friend, Chin Governor, who had autumn harvest parties. And George was also a fantastic dancer. Ballroom dancer of note, where ladies were in queues just to dance with him. He was really good at dancing. And finally, to Sean and Jessica, I've been with you all for a long time, I've been with your dads. And you, Sean and Jessica, were the children of George. And thank you for what you all have done, for the care, the laundry that Jessica has done over the years and months. Truly grateful. I'm truly grateful. I know more human beings could be in that context as your caring goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you to the care and the love that you, your family, people from Alpha alums, and Shin, as you mentioned, showed Georgie with in recent times. It was a long time now. He was very close to you. He spent a lot of time with you. Actually lived there for a while. Roger's made reference to family and nieces and nephews, and Georgie was very close to his nephews and nieces, all of them. He used his skills to craft a chessboard for Nikhil many, many years ago. And somewhat fittingly, when Georgie passed on Saturday afternoon, Nikhil was on the tennis court. He was probably drinking beer, as Georgie would as well on the court. Our next, the one skill no one's mentioned yet is Georgie's love for cooking. Not just routine, ordinary cooking. I remember 30 years ago, Georgie made crayfish spermidor and pavlovas. I didn't know what pavlova was. Visha had explained to me. Our next speaker is Mishka, my daughter. Georgie's granddaughter spent lots of time with Georgie now. Come, Mishka.
As mentioned by Dr. Novith, I am Mishka. I'm the granddaughter of Georgie's elder sister Sumitra. I mentioned to my dad, I will also preface this with, I've known Georgie Nana far less than the speakers who've gone before me today. I came in just under 30 years ago, and I do hope to do this justice. I mentioned to my dad earlier today that I did not think I would be giving a speech at my brother's wedding and a speech at Georgie Nana's funeral within a couple of months of each other. It's just taken a minute to reconcile that, so do forgive my pauses in the middle of this. My brother and I, unfortunately, never really had a chance to get to know our maternal grandfather, and our paternal grandfather passed away when we were both very young. So we never really had that, but we never felt like we had to go without a grandfather figure, because Georgie Nana was there. I'm sure Jyoti and Adi and Nick and my fellow Sarjoos of this generation would agree that Nana, or Aja, as he's also been affectionately termed, took his role very seriously. And while Mama was correct in stating that Georgie Nana regarded his nieces and nephews in a more friendlier context, they called each other by first names, he definitely took a more authoritative role with us. And he was ever ready to share all kinds of wisdom and niche knowledge on a plethora of topics like frogs that I never really needed, but he was my go-to for most things animal related, and I'm sure everybody will agree that he had unique bonds and steadfast opinions on all of our pets at any stages of things. He fostered our creative habits and guided our academic pursuits and was always would phone to ask, but he did it with just the right amount of cantankerous charm that you got irritated at first, but you couldn't help but smile because you know it came from a good place. While undoubtedly liberal in many respects and often doing it his way, Nana's frequent, "Padma, make me a cup of tea," or "Kala, any curry left over for a sandwich there," was in his own way an ode to his more traditional upbringing, and will be a sound that I will sorely miss for the rest of my days. As mentioned by Leonard just earlier today, a ritual of my youth was Nana rolling up over a weekend post-tennis with treats in hand. And later, as age took its toll, he would still come to weekends, borrowing any and all reading material available, and ready to share over lunch everything he had read about, whether I was interested in or not. But most recently, our bonding time included my driving him to and from the hospital whenever he needed, which was a role that I was not exceptionally enamored of taking on, because he had very high driving standards. But we settled in just fine, his failing eyesight notwithstanding, I get that out. And we listened to Ella Fitzgerald, and we caught up on all of the animal shows and animated movies that he watched that week. That was just what he enjoyed. Much like many of the furry friends that he adopted, Nana was a little rough around the edges himself, but he was this unique and gentle and vibrant soul. And my life, as I'm sure most of you here, was richer for having known him and poorer for his loss. Nana will think of you often, we'll think of you dearly, and we'll miss you fondly.
Thank you, Mishka. Thank you very much. You know, Georgie introduced many people to many things. And Jesh brothers, I saw him walking just now. You want to know that long before we were drinking single malt whiskey, Georgie was drinking Glenfiddich. I couldn't afford it at the time too. The other thing that Georgie is responsible for in our family is in recent times, Tom, Sula, Visha and I have been fiddling, as you know, with bonsai. The ancient Chinese art popularized by the Japanese, growing a tree in a little pot. It speaks to harmony in nature, it brings together the science of horticulture, beauty and creativity. 30 years ago, Georgie gave Visha a ficus bonsai, a root over rock ficus, which is probably the biggest nose in our collection today. And when we started to rekindle this interest about 2 years ago, he gave a book to me by Doug Hall, Growing Bonsai in South Africa. It was a birthday present that we'd given to him in 1993. And at that stage it said, Visha, Emma, and Nikhil, Mishka wasn't around. Our final two speakers are Georgie's niece and nephew, Adi and Jyoti, children of Sean and Jessica. Two kids of whom Georgie was extremely fond and spent a lot of time. He guided, he directed them. And he was always in awe, talking with pride about their achievements at school, extracurricular activities. Adi, Jyoti.
Grand Namaste to all. It's not easy for us to describe how much Arja meant to us. Arja was our mentor and inspiration. We have been blessed to have Arja pass down to us his vast knowledge across all diverse topics. He was very well read in current affairs, autobiographies, and natural science. This led to many interesting discussions over supper. Arja loved to work with wood, a true master craftsman. a skill we wished was passed down to us. Likewise, we also missed the genes to play competitive tennis, another one of Arja's many talents.
Our weekend games of carom board and table tennis showed us who was boss. Arja's table tennis serve was like a bullet. Then there was the warm and fuzzy side that Arja couldn't keep hidden from us. On many weekends, he would join us for a few Disney classics with hot samosas and a cozy blanket. Arja never missed our special days, celebrating birthdays and all our milestones. Nat King Cole and Louis Armstrong, thanks to you, Arja, we are probably their youngest fans. Unforgettable, that's what you are. As you can see, every moment with Arja was amazing. We could never predict what's next. Thank you, Arja. We will forever cherish the memories we shared.
Thank you, Ali and Georgie. They were both very reluctant speakers, but I'm so pleased that they spoke and that they spoke from their hearts. Mishka spoke about Georgie's calling and charging for tea and food and whatever. But we should all know, Georgie would silently approach an Asheville and do this. What does that mean? That meant 1 cup of tea now. So he didn't have to talk, and it was delivered to him. And all his life, his sisters, Kalan and Padma, delivered to his needs, took care of him all the way through. He was the youngest brother, he was a son who lived with them for years and years and years. What do I need to do now? Before I do a vote of thanks. The Stoic philosophers from classical antiquity and Hindu philosophy talks about memento mori. Death will come to all. Human life is impermanent. This is not to warn one that the grim reaper awaits. It's more to say, live every day to its fullest. Enjoy life, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And that's what we need to take to heart. And that's what Georgie would want us to do. Continue our enjoyment of life itself. Before I hand over to Pandita Babulal, I need to run through a vote of thanks. First, Pinetown Funerals, our service providers, medical and nursing staff of the ICU at Lifemount Edgecombe Hospital for the role they've played in taking care of Georgie in recent times. Jaffa, Tombi, and the caregivers, Sibongile, Bakosi, and Lonto, who helped in so many ways to take care of Georgie towards the end when he was struggling and living in Asheville. Padma and my mother-in-law, Smindra, have asked me to do what's already been done and to specifically mention the role that Sean and Jessica have played in taking care of Georgie in recent times. He was extremely fond of them. They really too good. They cooked. They did his laundry, everything else. And when they did his laundry, he started doing that. Then Georgie's visits to Asheville to do laundry on a Sunday became less frequent. Where is it? I need to run through this just in case I don't anything. Oh, I almost forgot. To those of you watching on the live stream who've sent your tributes down, to all Georgie's friends and family who've come together to support and to help and to assist. And I can't tell you how many offers of assistance, including financial assistance, we've had in the last few weeks and the last few days. Thank you so much to all of you. To those of you who braved the weather to be here, thank you for coming and for sharing this time with us. From my side to my wife Misha, family that I married into, thank you for all that you've done. for Georgie over many, many years. As you've heard, he lived as a bachelor, he had no children. His life revolved around friends, family, and nieces and nephews. And all of you made that life comfortable for him. And if you could talk now, he'd say, thank you very much, everybody. I'm now going to hand over to Pandita Sarjoo Mohanlall to do the final rites. Thank you.
Almighty God, who has been since the beginning of time, who has been in man since man was created, who is the supreme treasure of this vast universe. You are the knower, the knowledge, and the final resting place for all beings. You are the infinite presence in whom all things are. By you is the universe pervaded. We seek courage, fortitude, and shelter in you. Vasansi jidnani yatha vihaya navani grihanati naroparami tatha sharirani vihaya jidnana anyani sanyati punyapani dehi. Just as a person leaves an old garment and puts on one that is new, the soul of a person leaves the body at death and takes on a new one. The soul does not perish with the body. O Lord, may we take courage from this truth. Najayate priyate va kadachin nayam bhutvan bhavita vanabhuya ajo nityaha shashvato vanyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul is never born and it never dies. It is in eternity. It is forever and ever. Never born and eternal, beyond times gone by and yet to come. The soul does not die when the body dies. May we understand this truth, O God. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavata, nachainam kridatirako, nashorchati marutaha. Weapons cannot hurt the spirit, and fire cannot burn it. Waters cannot wet it, and winds cannot dry it. May we find comfort in these truths, God. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruva janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyate natvesho chitum arhasi. All things born in truth must die, and out of death in truth comes life. Knowing this, we must cease from sorrow. May we have the strength to do so, Almighty God. Avyaktadani dini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanithalanya yeva tatraka paridevana. All beings are invisible before birth. They are invisible again after death. We see only the mortal being in the existing lifespan. O God, grant us the wisdom to accept this truth. Om Vedahamateham Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastar Tameva Viditvayati Mrityumeti Naya Pantha Vidyate Ayanyaya. O Supreme Absolute God, the Supreme Absolute God is full of splendor, like the sun untainted by darkness. There is no other path to salvation and eternal bliss than by getting to know God. May we be blessed with the wisdom to know Him. Om Ya Atmada Balada Yasya Vishwa Upasate Prashisham Yasya Deva Yasya Chaya Amritam Yasya Mrityu Tasme Deva Vishavidhema. In the hour of distress, we need you, O God, who alone can give us physical vigor and spiritual strength. All blissful divinity, whose praises are sung by all enlightened persons, we entreat you to lessen our sorrow. Om Suryam Jakshur Gachatu Vadamatma Yam Jagacha Prithivim Dharmana Apova Gachayadi Tatrate Hitam Oshadishu Pratishta Sharire. O Supreme Lord, may all the components of this body be merged into the 5 elements of this universe. May its vision be absorbed in the sun, its breath into the atmosphere, and its other parts into the appropriate elements. May the soul, according to the meritorious deeds performed here, dwell in a body worthy of such merit. Om Shamatne Paschat Tapasham Purastat Ucharat Adharat Lapemam Ekastredha Vihita Jata Vedaha Satyabgenaha Dehi Sukritamuloke. O God, who is self-illuminous, who dispenses justice even-handedly, and who rewards everyone justly, may the soul of this body find peace in every direction, in the west, north, east, south, and in every other direction. O omniscient and all-illuminating Lord, the creator, sustainer, and dissolver of this universe, may this soul be given a worthy abode. Om Sam Gachasva Kritribhyu Sam Yeve Nashta Purtena Parame Vyoman Hivya Vyavathya Purastama Dehi Sam Gachata Tattva Suvar Paha. O God, may this soul, by its austerity, enlightenment, and good deeds, attain a suitable state like its forebears. May be free from all blemishes, and once again inherit an enlightened body, full of luster, and return to this world to perform noble deeds. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Vidyurama Tangamaya. O Supreme Spirit, lead us from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, and from death to immortal bliss. All rise for Shanti Path, please. Om Yo Shanti Antariksharam Shanti Prithavi Shanti Apa Shanti Ushadaya Shanti Vanaspatya Shanti Vishwadeva Shanti Brahma Shanti Shanti Deva Shanti Sama Shanti Devi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. I would like the immediate family to go forward towards the coffin and to pay your last respects before we go to the antechamber.
from my own family actually. Occasionally, just be currently watching on the live stream, and I've been in Australia watching on the live stream as well. I think we've got all the questions. Also, the family with their family around here, first family was the anti-chamber to find the right to last prayer. I don't think the relations between the house of this school, because I see no bookings of the board for the chamber. Nursery advisory that over the next 3 nights, there'll be a Helen at 38 River Asheville. You're welcome to attend. Thank you. Yeah.
Pick it up.
back. Push it up straight.
you.